Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
Now, here's your host, Ed Cohen.
So this is Ed Cohen in San Diego, California, and this is Global TV Talk Show. And this is a program about relocation into Colorado Springs, Colorado. And our very special guest is Harry Salzman, who's a renowned realtor and businessman who is in residential real estate for many years. And he's regarded as an expert resource, the source, in fact. Harry Salzman will have all the information above and beyond what you're going to watch and learn during this special broadcast. So this is part of a series on relocation information. It's going to be called Colorado Springs Bound, and it has to do with people who can work from anywhere, work from home, and taking advantage of the beautiful clean air, safety, Americana that Colorado Springs offers to employers and families and single people, anyone. So the real estate market is been very active, as you all know by now, with low interest rates and a short supply, apparently, and a lot of demand. So prices are up. And here are some statistics. Very current through June, as supplied through the Relocation Directors Council organization and their research division. But for very specific information about Colorado Springs neighborhoods, you got to contact Harry Salzman. So average sold dollar value in June was 25% above a year ago, June 2020. Okay, so June 2021 through June, the average was 473,466. That's up 25% year over year. Now in this next chart, graph that you're going to see, it's how long a listing remains for sale on the market before it's taken off the market, which means a sale has occurred. Okay, this is called the average days on the market. And this is an indication of the strength of the market, the vitality, and the transactions. So average days on market in Colorado Springs in June of 2021 was just 7 days. Can you believe? That was 61.1% fewer than in the similar period of June 20. Okay, June 2020. 61% decline. Average days on the market in June 2021 was just 7 days. Now, in the next chart we're going to see, it gets a little deeper. The number of listings that were sold. Okay. In 2020, there were 1,433. But in the period just ending, June of 2021, fewer, 1,294. So the difference in a year is that there's fewer things on the market. Once again, the sold price in that first chart was up 25% over a year ago. And now you see a decline. From June 20, the number of listings sold in June of 2020 was 1,433. In June of 2021, 1,294. So you can see it's pretty distinct. The final chart we're going to look at today, and once again, for very specific current information, you need to contact Harry Salzman. The number of new listings. A year ago, of June of 2020, there are 1,491 units. In other words, 1,491. That's a year ago. the number of new listings during June of 2020. Now, exact same period, June of 2021, the number of new listings was up 1578. So that gives you an idea of not the tightness of the market, but also once a house gets on the market, it's inevitably going to get sold pretty quick because of the demand. And that also pushes up prices. So this is really interesting. There's very, very day-to-day information available through Harry Salzman. And here we go into the program. Enjoy the show. Be sure and contact Harry Salzman for specific information. Thank you. Okay, our special guest today is Harry Salzman, who I've known for a long time from the relocation industry. Harry is a professional businessman and going to have a conversation today about Colorado Springs as a destination for people who want to retire or just invest or get out of the city and move to open air, clean air, safety, cleanliness, old Americana, but today. So let's welcome Harry Salzman. Hi there.
And hello to you too, Ed.
Hey, welcome to the Global TV Talk Show. Harry, we're going to talk about U.S. relocation, real estate, and we're going to have a focus on you and on your business in Colorado Springs. All right, Colorado Springs as a destination. So I want you to tell us briefly about Colorado Springs, and then we'll do a deep dive into you. Okay, so first of all, Colorado Springs is what, about 90 minutes south of Denver? Is that correct?
No, we're a lot quicker than that. In fact, closer to 45, 50 minutes, right on I-25.
Yeah, how fast do you go for that?
Well, the I-25 allows 75 miles an hour.
Yeah, okay, so that means 80, right?
Yeah. No, because they absolutely make a lot of money on tickets, and we all
I see.
that.
Yeah, okay, that's great. All right, so how long have you lived in Colorado Springs?
Well, Ed, when I graduated from Arizona State in '69, my first job took me to Denver. I was with an investment banking company, and I was young. Yes, I thought I knew it all and securities, et cetera, but I was too young to really make it. So in 1972, I left Denver and heard about Colorado Springs. So I came down here, said, wow, what a place to live. Why do I have to put up with the big cities? At the time, the population here was about 125,000 people. Looking around, it says, look at these mountains. I got to see Pikes Peak, the Front Range, et cetera, et cetera. Said, what a nice place to live. So I decided this was going to be where I was going to move and start a new career.
Good quality of life, clean air, and low crime rate, right?
Throughout the years, absolutely.
Yeah, geez, that's really great. Okay, so you've been a very successful person in business, in residential real estate, and you are an expert in the area, and you have been a champion, as I understand it, of referrals, inbound, outbound, relocation advice to others throughout the industry for a number of years. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So I remember in the old days, I mean, going back, I don't know whether it was last century, maybe, but for the All Points relocation service. And we had meetings in Toronto and other cool places and visiting Niagara Falls and doing all the fun things, which we won't get into in this time. But so tell me about, is it all old people living in Colorado Springs, or is it, I understand the Air Force Academy is there. So how big is the government there? So I'm asking you a whole bunch of questions to tee it up.
Okay, so depending on where to start. So today, the population of the city is about 485,000 current population. And when you take a look at the county-wise outside of the city, we now are about 780,000 population, maybe even a little more, but right around that number today. And we've had consistent growth. Growth is terrific. And you see, here's why I really understand that. Because when I got started here in 72, I figured, well, if I'm going to get started in real estate, I better start to learn some decision makers. So I joined the Chamber of Commerce way back then. And then they created the economic development, and I was asked to be a part of that. So what turned place was we had meetings and how are we going to get jobs to this fabulous community to grow to? And there were about 27 guys put together, and we just knew what we wanted. We're all types of businessmen. And what I'll never forget, and what really started me in the relocation industry, is I got to knock some corporate doors, and we took a flight to Chicago. And that would have been in like 1975. And we were in groups of three people at a knock on corporate doors. And I'll never forget, I got to knock on the door and meet the CEO of Litton Corporation. Fast forward, not too long later, I get a call back. Hey, can you tell us about Colorado Springs? We're thinking about moving there. I said, I'll see you shortly. So I'll never forget, talk to Bob Isaac, who was the mayor at the time. What do you want me to represent for the city? What can we do? What can I throw on the table? What do we give away to bring the jobs here? And it was interesting. He says, well, you know, none of us have done this before. Figure it out. And for sure, our elected people will certainly provide bonuses to bring jobs to town. So that's before really the corporate relocation sector got created, what you had to give to get jobs, et cetera. We got started with that in the mid 1970s. And I was a fortunate part of that group.
So, Paul, let's run that video now, and let's take a look at Colorado Springs today and how the economic development people, including Harry and others, and many women involved in this now, I'm sure, are promoting the diversity and the opportunity right now that is going on in Colorado Springs. Okay, very nice. So Harry, I see the mountains in the background, and Pikes Peak is nearby. So how long does it take you to drive from downtown that we just saw, the downtown business center, to Pikes Peak?
As you get on US West 24 from downtown, maybe 10 minutes would take
Really?
it to take it to the entrance to start the drive to the top of Pikes Peak.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, that's where the song America the Beautiful was written.
Wow, I didn't know that. Isn't that great? Yeah. So who wrote America the Beautiful?
Oh,
Who sang it?
yeah. So,
No, we should have that song on the show. Wow.
yeah, America the Beautiful, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I heard it, let's see, a number of times on Thanksgiving Day because that is such a popular song. That's all about America the Beautiful. And what we get to see here, absolutely, Purple Mountain Majesties are in the Front Range. We see it right in the Front Range of the Rockies.
So why are they purple? Is that sunset or sunrise?
That's what's really in the ground. That's the real world. Sometimes when the sun shines, you even get purple. But that's what we're fortunate to view right here in our hometown.
Wow, that's special. Okay, so now let's talk a bit about yourself. How long have you been in the real estate business?
This is, yeah, this is year 47. I wouldn't know what else to do.
Okay, so one of your specialties, as I understand it, because you and I know each other, is that you've been an executive with the Relocation Directors Council and of counsel to them for many years. And part of the whole deal with you is the money, the financial issue, the capability of financing tough projects. And this is what you've taught others. So if you could just do a little deep dive about your specialty, about your understanding of the money market and how it applies to the residential real estate business.
Well, you bet, because I check out the wholesale money market every morning on Wall Street. I'm able to do that even as a realtor. It's published in the Wall Street Journal. And I take a look at what wholesale money is in 15-year, 30-year mortgages. I also see what the retail price is. To give you the example today, for anyone to get a 15-year loan, you can get that rate today is 2 1/8 to 2.25%. If you want a 30-year fix today, we're probably 2 5/8 to 2 3/4.
So today's date, just for the listening audience, because the audience will be worldwide and 6 months, 8 months, 12 months from now. So today's date is November 30, 2020. And we've got a new government coming in and new economic vitality that's going to spring forward as we get into the new year, not only because of the calendar, but because of the vaccines coming and a sense of confidence and renewal and rebirth of the American spirit. So let's talk about home buying. Even during the pandemic, home buying has been a pretty good thing, hasn't it been?
Absolutely, Ed. And let me share with you and the worldwide audience of what's our relative strength of market conditions today. And I'm going to read this so that I get the numbers proper.
You got it.
So as of the end of October, and this is through the single family patio homes here in Colorado Springs. So the average price is $432,477, which is up 16.2% in the last 12 months. And a median sales price is $383,447, which is up 14.5% in the last 12 months. So You can call it an average of about a 15% appreciation here in Colorado Springs of a single family home.
Now, doesn't that mean that if I had been fortunate enough to do business with you and buy a home a year or so ago, that the paper value at the time would be up that percentage that you mentioned?
That's absolutely correct. And the appreciation is accurate. And we've also dealt with appraisers here because they also have been given the right data. So personally, I have not had any issue with an appraisal of a sale of a single family home. The appraisers are accepting the appreciation here, and that is a part of our real world in processing a sale.
Great. Okay, now we have a couple of pictures. Paul, if you have those ready, we want to show some scenes and some property. So this is the Red Rock Garden of the Gods, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. That's a city park, about 1,400 acres.
Is that Pikes Peak?
It sure is. And that photo is right off of my deck.
Wow. Oh, now that's pretty good. So
What you see on the screen, by the way, that's a shot looking through the Garden of the Gods at Pikes Peak.
yeah,
And what's interesting, where you see the change in the color, where you see the snow beginning on that straight line,
yeah,
that straight line is at 12,000 feet. And that's also where anything growing stops, because above that, the air is no longer able for anything to grow. That's
yeah.
at 12,000 feet. And the top is 14,110.
And so your elevation where you are now is what, 6,000 to 7,000, right?
Correct. Personally, on my street, we're just over 6,700 feet elevation.
Yeah. So does it take much getting used to being in that elevation?
Most people are told if they're coming here on a few days on a vacation, you really need to drink a whole lot of water, because your system's going to know you're in a higher altitude. And that's just kind of normal. A lot of people visit here, whether you're a tourist or even you're visiting family, you really need to drink a lot of water.
Yeah. Okay. So what about walking around? I mean, drinking water while walking?
A lot of people do that. That's a real fact.
Yeah. So what about beer consumption? So that has water in it.
Well, gee, up the road about, let's call it 80, 90 miles is headquarters of Coors. So therefore, you bring up beer. Well, that's why with the great water in the stream, that's obviously what created that beer.
Clean water.
Long time ago.
Yeah. Really clean, natural springs. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about schools. All right, public schools.
Well, the public schools here, again, we're really fortunate because of the quality of public education. That's another one of the reasons why a lot of corporations enjoy the growth. Corporations like to come here. That is, again, one of the major questions if they relocate here. Are the families are going to be comfortable with public schools? And the answer is absolutely correct. We have a lot of publications here and people here who are here, all having to do with the upper end of education. It's really not only in demand, but we experience very strong public education here in Colorado Springs.
So I assume it being in cowboy land, that horseback riding is pretty popular.
Well, yes, that's out in the country. We have a lot of areas where if you'd be into having your personal horses, you can have homes on 5 acres that are, 10 to 15 minutes right next to the city. That's a very popular, again, type of housing neighborhoods that we also have right here.
So in that nice video that we just saw, a lot of high tech. A lot of high tech.
High tech is a very, very strong sector of our economy. Not only with high tech, but also Department of Defense. That sector, because there's a lot of the tech companies who are also part of a Department of Defense, the status of our economy is about 41%, having to do with Department of Defense and the different organizations who are here, like the Air Force Academy, Fort Carson, Peterson Field, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so, and it's an Olympic training site too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Tell us
And
about
therefore,
that.
that's one of the reasons too, because we have a higher level of educated people who are here.
Yeah, so the Olympic Training Center, that's clean air, good weather. What goes on there that makes it so special?
Well, the Olympic headquarters is here, and it's also what they call home to 24 national governing bodies. That is right here in Colorado Springs. And we have home base to over 15,000 elite athletes visit and train right here in Colorado Springs on an annual basis. And athletes from many countries also come here, train with and play with the United States Olympic teams. So we get to see that.
So this obviously permeates the environment of young, healthy, fit people, particularly in the school systems where there's so much emphasis on physical fitness.
Absolutely. Physical fitness is a very, very big deal here. That's why trails are used for walkers, bikers, etc. And people, because of the air, the purity, that's just part of a higher quality of life that people enjoy. You can look out on your street, usually see neighbors taking a walk. Very, very normal here throughout the community.
Yeah, and safety is the key, sort of like refreshing look and feel of Americana, of from G-rated point of view.
Well, that's absolutely correct. And that's why I want to share some time all about some neighborhoods, about housing, talking about some statistics,
Well,
because
let's
that's
do
also
that.
what makes people
Yeah, let's do a
happy.
deep dive. So are the neighborhoods around the colleges, you have two or three colleges in town, right?
A whole lot more. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, there's the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs, which has today a little over 12,000 students, a very, very strong economy. And we've also had some consistent growth in buildings in the UCCS campus. In fact, what just opened this September was what's called the Sports Management Complex, which again is very unique. It's great to raise graduates all into sports, fitness, and again, it's also a marriage with the Olympic Training Center.
So you said sports management. So is that the business side of it?
Yeah, this is to where students not only want to learn everything to do with sports, because who knows what sport they might want to end up working in when they graduate, their career, et cetera, but also it's fitness, and it's also a growth of the medical industry from Denver to train new doctors in education here at this altitude.
Okay, so what we have is a Center for Sports Management, higher education, continuing education, tech, and a lot of outdoorsy stuff. And so with sports management comes hospitality management, and also comes, well, branding
Tourism.
and marketing, and oh yeah, tourism. So all of that is depending upon a healthy economy everywhere else, so people can drive in or fly into Colorado Springs.
If you want a all around quality of life, you want to have a good, strong job. You want to enjoy what happens when you get off of work today, tomorrow, this week, et cetera. You want to have a great quality of life and a lot of fun to experience. It's here. Neighborhoods in the Broadmoor area.
I see. So the Broadmoor is fabulous old-fashioned resort. Good golf, as I recall it.
Well, absolutely, and just a fabulous, fabulous complex. It's a 5-star. It's the only one in the state of Colorado. People would love to get there. It's just fabulous. Huge, huge golf courses right in the foothills of the Rockies. Everything there is way above standards. And I think they have, probably over 20 restaurants, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh,
Lots
that's
of fun.
cool. So what's the nearest ski slope?
Well, when you, let's say from Colorado Springs, 2 hours, you're going to have 4 ski areas from Breckenridge to Keystone to Copper, Anchorage. So we're looking at those 4 areas about 2 hours away.
Now, those are major resorts, but is there something that's smaller, that's closer?
Well, Cooper would be a little smaller. It's more of, technically, it's called green slopes, which is more just cruising versus the high altitude, even like where races take place a lot of time. Of course, all the ski areas as we speak are also having COVID issues today.
Hopefully that will change. So, Harry, I've really enjoyed talking with you and learning more about you and also about Colorado Springs. And where did that name come from? Was that because of the fresh water streaming down the streets, or what?
Well, that's a great question, but And once again, it really goes to the quality of life, to General Palmer, et cetera, who came here and established our community in the 1870s. And before we say goodbye, I wanted to bring up a few other thoughts to you and the audience, no matter where in the country or around the world. And that's just that market conditions are different today. And because of that, whoever you are, whoever you're thinking about, you really need a realtor who is experienced in negotiation today. And why is that? Because nationwide, inventory, and I stress this, inventory is at a record low. And exactly. So we need to, again, really, mention that, Ed. And we're seeing multiple offers, and sometimes, we have to also take a look at who the offer is coming from, how clean is it, is the buyer really going to be able to perform, and oh, by the way, what's the credit worthiness of the realtor? So I stress that whether you're a buyer or a seller, do yourselves credit and interview credit worthiness realtors. And,
so what does that mean? Credit worthiness in a realtor?
Because in multiple offers, let's just say that some realtors are going to really understand the buyer who's created an offer, and they know them inside and out. They were a past client to them, and sometimes maybe they were just somebody who gave them a phone call, hey, would you write me an offer? So it's extremely important that the realtors who are involved on the listing side and the selling side really can respect each other and come to a plan of negotiating who meets the let's say pro forma for all parties, and a closing is going to happen. Much important today. And the other issue that I want to bring up is, because the market conditions are strong, and we've already talked about people are moving from the bigger cities, also take a look at the realtor who you're working with. In company I'm affiliated with, which is ERA Shields, can you believe that we've also had this year to date, business is strong, and I thought you'd like to hear the number, there's been over 800 referrals just within our office year to date. As of Friday, I got that number, which demonstrates people are moving here, and our company is servicing the transferees. Majority of the realtors in this company have been in the business 20, 30 years. We've known each other for a long time. And I thought that's just something that you and the public would like to know.
So by referrals, you mean inbound referral?
It could be an inbound, maybe it's an upgrade, maybe to get a bigger job, they're moving, but in this community, we don't have that many who are leaving town. Why? Quality of life, and I've experienced it, and so has every other agent who've been around. If a company says we want to transfer you, they say thank you, but you would rather stay here, and they move employers.
So we've been talking with Harry Salzman. What's your email?
Thank you very much. It's very simple. It's harry@harrysalzman.com. And by the way, as Ed knows, I've been writing a market letter twice a month since 2003. Always provide local information, and I give a comparison to all markets in the country on a quarterly basis. So I'd be delighted to add you to our newsletter, and it'll provide you with the latest and the best actual data, and every now and then my thoughts on what it would mean to you as a buyer, a seller, upgrader, etc.
Harry Salzman, thanks for being our guest on Global TV Talk Show. This will be sent around the nation and across the world from our website, globalbusinessnews.net. So you've just seen a broadcast. We're calling it Relocation TV Talk Show. And this was all about being bound for Colorado Springs bound, destination oriented. And it's a PR device, of course, but we want to give you really good information about the current real estate scene and about the area economic development. In other words, people want to know what businesses there are. Should they be interested in finding a new job or a new position? Once again, working remotely, virtual, is big and it's not going away. So in the future, I'm sure there'll be more hybrid workplace organizations, shifting of work, distributing work as they call it technically. So working from home is going to be good. Working from anywhere be cool as long as you have high-speed internet connection and bandwidth. And in Colorado Springs, they have that. So be sure and contact our friend Harry Salzman for very specific information. And as you've just seen towards the end of our program, there's lifestyle things galore in Four Seasons. Don't forget you're up high there. Pikes Peak Mountain is just behind, and they've got clean air, a taste of Americana, the way you remember it and way your parents remember it, and you'll be very lucky to own a property there. Thank you for being on Global TV Talk Shows.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.